I can call parameterized constructor also. That chance is there. Means going forward, if there is a parameterized constructor now, you can call now my struct and pass values. When you want to invoke a parameterized constructor, this is compulsory, man. What is compulsory? No. But when you're calling a default constructor, you can write like this also. You can write like this also. Both will work. For structure only, not for class. Once again, you can read both the two differences. New keyword is we need to call any constructor that is available in the class. Other side. New keyword is optional for creating the instance, and if new is not used, it will call default constructor, which is defined implicitly, whereas it is now possible to use new and call other constructors also. So using new is optional for structure, using new is mandatory for class. Now tell me, every class contains an implicit constructor if not defined explicitly now. Read the next point. Contains an implicit default constructor if no constructor is defined explicitly. Correct now? Come to the other side. What is the difference? Can anyone tell? I did not write the same. What is that? Class is a condition. Yeah. Actually, what I'm trying to tell is, listen, constructor is mandatory for a class, correct? Which constructor? Default or parameterized? Either or. What is mandatory? Either or. Constructor is mandatory for a class. Which constructor? Either or. But when you come to a structure, default constructor is mandatory, man. Apart from that, you can have parameterized constructor, but what is mandatory? Default constructor is mandatory. See, listen, class is very flexible. What it tells, you define a constructor or leave it, I will define a constructor. Yes or not? You define a constructor or leave it, I will define a constructor. Got my point? Okay, anything will tell you. And when you are defining a constructor, give a chance. Define default, define parameterize, whatever you want, you define. Yes or not? But suppose you define a parameterized constructor in a class, there will not be any default constructor anymore now. Yes or not? See, if you define, compiler will never define again now. But structure is not like this here. For structure, default is mandatory. If you write it, okay. If you don't write, means you written a parameterized, then immediately the compiler will write a default. Did you understand or not? You written a parameterized, compiler will write a default. You written a parameterized in a class, compiler won't write anything now. Already there now. But when you come here, you write a default, fine. But you written a parameterized, compiler will write default. Why? Default constructor is mandatory. Why, sir? Why is it mandatory? Array, if the default constructor is there, only this code will work now. Did you understand me or not? Structure is giving you an option. What option? Create the instance without using new keyword. Correct or not? If that should work, what is mandatory? Default constructor is mandatory, which should be either explicitly defined or will be implicitly defined. Okay, now. So listen to the difference here. What class does? constructor is mandatory. Which constructor? Default or parameter? But what structure is telling, default is mandatory. Additionally, write parameterized if you want. Did you understand me or not? Once again, what is the class telling? Constructor is mandatory, either default or parameterized. But what is structure telling? Default is mandatory. Apart from that, add parameterized of your choice. Are you clear? See, that's why. Look at this, all of you. If I change this to a class, and if at all I'm going to define a constructor in my class now, public my struct, int I. So, you notice I have a class now, I defined a constructor now. Okay, when I'm trying to create the instance is equals to new my struct, and you're passing a value. How many constructors are there here? One only. Which constructor? Parameterized. Clear now? But now I'll show you the reference. Watch. Come here. Change this to struct. Do you know the number of constructors in your class? Who are there? Who are there, sir? Yes, two are there. One is default. One is parameterized. Watch it. We'll show you. Are you guys clearer or not? Okay, see now, I'm creating an instance by using default. And this is also creating an instance by default only. Remember, this is also default only. And now, parameterized. First one, default constructor. Second one also, default only. Third one. But how many did you define? One only. But how many are there? But what I explained in a class, you defined one only will be there. You defined 10 only will be there. Yes or not? But when you come to structure, you define the 10 parameterized constructor. So you have 11. Did you catch my point or not? You defined